Hi, welcome to ADEA Dental. My name's Daisha, and as of 2023, I am a pre-dental student applying in the 2023 to 2024 ADEA application cycle. When I was in undergrad, I had heard it was necessary to apply to no less than 12 schools. The pre-dental students around me each applied to about 10 or so, with a mix of private and state schools on each of their lists. But when it came time to apply, I decided to only put in applications to 7 schools, all of which were in the state of California, despite being an out-of-state resident. Today, I'm going to share with you where I applied to dental school and why I only picked those 7 schools. I was born and raised in the state of Texas, but when it came time for undergrad, I ended up attending Pepperdine University in Malibu, California, where I attended from 2019 to 2023. There, I received my Bachelor of Arts in Biology with an outside concentration in religion. The week after graduation in May of 2023, I started studying for the DAT using DAT Bootcamp. I ended up studying about 10 weeks and took the test at the end of July of 2023, where I received a 23 academic average and a 22 total science score. In a future video, I will break down how I did on each section of the DAT, but for now, I'm just going to talk about how this fed into where I applied for school. As I was studying for the DAT, I began applying in June of 2023 and ended up submitting my primary applications on June 21st, which was about 3 weeks after the applications had opened up. And now I'll explain why I only applied to 7 schools in the United States. For me, the most important thing in a school, besides their ability to prepare me to become a great dentist, was the location. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I was a sophomore, and I used this extra time at home to attend virtual conferences and dental school tours with some of the schools around the nation. Having been very bored from quarantine, I ended up looking at different programs that were outside of the US, and I found a program called Atlantic Bridge. Atlantic Bridge is a program that allows Canadian, American, and non-European Union citizens to study dentistry in Ireland at a variety of their schools across the country. Because I had been in quarantine so long, I thought it would be really cool to study abroad during dental school, so I began to look into this program more. I ended up attending one of Atlantic Bridge's informational sessions that were available to US students. I found out that studying as a dentist in Ireland meant that you would have to do a 5-year program, which was a combination of an undergraduate and a graduate degree. Because I had already taken so many of the courses in my undergrad degree, I realized that it would not be in my best interest to study with another 5-year program. If any of you haven't started college yet and you're looking into studying dentistry abroad, I would totally recommend this program. I'll link their information below and you can check it out after this video. After this, I began to kind of fine-tune my list of US dental schools that I was interested in attending. During the earlier stages of my undergrad, I had planned on returning to Texas and attending dental school, where then I would hopefully eventually open a clinic in the state. However, as my time in undergrad went on, I realized that I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to return to Texas. I developed a really strong community in Southern California, and I began to realize that I couldn't see myself anywhere else. So I started to switch where I was directing my dental search towards. After graduation in summer of 2023, I began to fill out the questions on the ADEA portal, and I realized that it was going to take a long time to fill out both the California questions and the Texas questions, which are on their own separate portal. I spent about 3 weeks writing and drafting my personal statement, filling in the volunteer forms and the shadowing experience, and by the time I was done, I realized that I didn't have a lot of time to continue studying for my DAT while applying to a separate portal for the Texas schools. Since I'd already been looking at other schools on the ADEA portal, I started to look at other schools I could apply to automatically with the application I was already working on. Because of that, I ended up looking into Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and University of Oklahoma in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. When I was looking in depth into these schools, I realized that I really appreciated that Marquette's tuition was a little bit cheaper than the ones I was looking at in California. And although I am not Catholic or Jesuit, I am a practicing Christian, and I appreciated their faith-based values that they applied into the school. I've also never been to Michigan, so I also thought it would be fun to consider looking outside of the state of California. I kind of had the same thought process when looking into Nova Southeastern University, because I thought it would be fun to switch from the West Coast to the East Coast. I really appreciated Nova Southeastern's attention to teamwork in dental school, their curriculum themes, and their low student to faculty ratio that they described on their website. As for University of Oklahoma, my search didn't go too far with this school because I found out that they had a strict cap for the requirement for their shadowing hours, which was 100. Because a large portion of my undergrad degree took place during the pandemic, I wasn't able to complete more than 50 shadowing hours in person. After emailing OU and finding out that I wasn't allowed to apply, I took it off my list and I left Marquette and Nova Southeastern. After my brief search for looking for other schools, I finished my primary application and it came time to pay for the 9 schools. Despite really liking what I had seen about Marquette and Nova Southeastern, once I had finished filling out the primary application, I realized how expensive it was going to be to pay for each school. As of 2023, it costs $264 to apply to your first dental school and $115 to apply to each school after that. After weighing my decision, I realized how confident I was that I wanted to stay in the state of California, so I ended up not applying for Marquette or Nova Southeastern, and I left the applications incomplete. After I sent in my application for the California schools, I decided to hold off on applying for the Texas schools because my DAT was only 5 weeks away, and I wanted to finish that before I could get to any other applications. After I took my DAT, I began to look at which California schools required secondary applications. I'm not sure what it was like before COVID, but only 2 of the schools that I applied to required secondary applications. The first of the schools that I had applied to that required a supplemental application was Loma Linda University. Loma Linda required that you submit an additional recommendation letter from a spiritual advisor, as well as fill out a series of essay questions concerning your faith and other moral-based matters in dentistry. The second school that required a supplemental application was Western University. Western asked a series of questions concerning personal details as well as one essay about why you wanted to go to Western. Although Western University's secondary application was a lot shorter than Loma Linda's, I ended up submitting Western's last in mid-September of 2023. By the time I finished my secondary applications with California, I realized that it was a little too late to apply to the Texas schools as it was mid-September. Although I'm a Texas resident and I still could have had a chance to possibly get into one of their schools this late into the cycle, I decided that it was not in my best interest to apply because I really wanted to stay in California for dental school. Most of my friends are in Southern California, and I realized that for me to do well in school, I have to constantly be surrounded by people who encourage me and are able to spend time with me in social settings. Although I do still have family in Texas, most of the schools are at least 5 hours away from my house, which means I still wouldn't even get to be able to see my family on the weekends or as often as I would like to. Because of this, I made the ultimate decision not to apply to Texas schools in this cycle, but I would leave it open to consideration in the future if I were not to get in this 2023-2024 application cycle. And that is the story of how I decided to apply to USC, Loma Linda, Western, UOP, UCSF, UCLA, and California North State University. Thanks for tuning into Day-to-Day Dental with Daisha. If you think this video would help a pre-dental student, then send it their way. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. But until next time, have an amazing day!